Hello and welcome. My name is Faye and that's Cloud, and we are here with your mindful breath. And today's practice is a fall inspired yoga and journaling practice. The journaling prompts will be given throughout the practice just a few times. You're welcome to not journal and just simply reflect on it, and you can also just totally ignore that and do your own thing. But feel free to grab a journal and a pen if you'd like to participate in that as well. Maybe you want to grab a beverage or your favorite drink to help to relax and calm the mind as we prepare for class today. For props, maybe you want to bring a couple blocks, a blanket or pillow, or a couple towels rolled up work great as well. We'll be doing some poses that we'll be holding for a little bit longer, and so you might want to get some props to help you be more comfy and relaxed during practice today. For our first posture that we're moving into, we'll make our way into Baddha Konasana, or butterfly pose. So the soles of the feet are together, the hips are out, an option to roll blankets or towels under the knees, or maybe you place blocks right here under the knees as well, so they relax open and the soles of the feet are together. You can play with how far you keep the heels towards the body. Maybe you press the feet out a little bit further, or maybe you press them in a little bit more, just playing and noticing what feels better for you today. And so we'll just take a moment to acknowledge how we're feeling. Maybe the hands are resting comfortably on the lap or in the lap, wherever. Doesn't really matter. We'll soften the eyes down and fully close them if that's comfortable, taking a moment to notice how we're feeling. Seeing if you are leaning forwards or backwards. See if you can stack the shoulders right over the hips. So you're sitting up on your sit bones. The neck and the spine are reaching long towards the sky. The shoulders are relaxed. And we take a breath in together. And we take a breath out. And without judgment, and as best as you can, take a moment to notice where the breath is. Is it more shallow and rigid, or is it slow and relaxed and smooth? There's no wrong answer here. We're just simply taking a moment to notice how the breath feels in our structure today, in this moment. Perhaps you can start to deepen the inhales so the belly rises and you feel the air all the way down in the base of the spine. And perhaps you lengthen the exhale, blowing it out through the mouth or nose. Sometimes this fall season or this transitional season can cause us to have allergies. So if you're struggling to breathe in and out through the nose, that's perfectly fine. Do what works for you today. Invitation to set an intention for your practice. An intention is simply a compass or guide of how you'd like to move through your practice today. Maybe it's just one word or a couple words. A couple examples might be restful, being present, compassionate, relaxed. Choose what you need, or if nothing is coming to mind, feel free to choose the intention of simply being present. Notice how this intention feels as you breathe it in and as you breathe it out. Invitation here to call into an ujjayi breath, a heating breath, which is great for the fall time where it tends to be more cool, right? For ujjayi breath, all you're doing is simply constricting the back of the throat a little bit on the exhale. So imagine you're exhaling and blowing onto a mirror, like where you might fog up a mirror. and you have that kind of sound, we're going to duplicate that, but this time keeping the lips sealed, and again, only if it's comfortable for you. And so it might be a very subtle sound, or it might be a little bit louder, picking one that feels natural for you to be in today. Invitation here to reach for your journal if it's nearby. Maybe you use any other props that you have nearby, like a blanket or pillow or blocks, and you bring it up closer to you. And in this journal, first journal reflection, explore how you're feeling in this moment. Explore the intention that you set for yourself. And maybe notice if the intention that you set for yourself showed up somewhere in the body physically. Was there a warming sensation or an increased heart rate or anything that showed up when this intention was being set, or as you think about it now? I'll give you a few moments to reflect or to write upon this. If you choose not to do the journal prompt, feel free to continue the Ujjayi breath in this butterfly pose. And feel free to use this journal as a stream of consciousness thought. Simply just write what's on your mind. The beauty of a journal is that it's private and it's only for you. And if you choose to share, that's your choice. But it's just a place for you to be able to share whatever you want to share without judgments, including judgments from yourself. Feel free to finish up your final thoughts. And of course, if you aren't finished, you're welcome to continue or set this aside and come back to it after class. We'll slowly move any props that are in our way out to the side. So if you have the blocks or towels underneath your knees, you start to slide them over, bringing the knees together. We'll take a moment and just windshield wiper the knees from side to side, allowing yourself to lean back on the hands, and then just simply rocking the hips from side to side. Excellent. Now we're going to make our way into our tabletop position and make our way into child's pose. So our big toes are touching and we send our hips back to our heels. If your hips don't go all the way down to the heels, that's perfectly fine. You can always use a blanket to support or help elevate here. You can also choose how wide you want your legs. Maybe they're closer together or maybe they're farther apart. I challenge you to explore and play with which child's pose feels best for you today. Maybe you have a blanket or a pillow underneath your chest, or maybe you're using a block to support the head. And again, the block offers 3 different levels: the lowest level, medium level, or the highest level. And you can figure out which feels right for you today in this child's pose. Allow the hands to be outreached in front of you, or maybe they're even by your sides. Again, it's your choice. We're just taking a moment to connect to the ground beneath us, noticing where we're being supported either by props or the ground beneath us. Noticing how this feels in the body. Noticing the quality of the mind. If you're struggling with thoughts,
Feel free to acknowledge them, welcome them here, and as best as you can, notice them, allow them to be here, and release and let go. These thoughts will show up after class, and that's perfectly fine. But for now, focus on being as present as possible with every breath in and every breath out. Maybe you explore where the breath feels in the body as you breathe. Maybe you notice it in the belly, the sides of the body, or even the back of the body. Excellent job, everyone. So let's slowly lift up our head, walk our hands over to the left side. The thumbs can be kissing, or maybe the right hand goes on top of the left hand and the forehead finds the ground or block. Allowing yourself to rest in this child's pose with a side stretch here. Feeling a nice stretch all along the right side of the body. Maybe you're actively pressing the armpits and the hands into the ground, keeping the hips also grounded. What's showing up for you right now? And can you let it go? Walking the hands back to center. We'll take a moment to neutralize the spine. And we'll walk over to the right hand side, allowing the hands to either be touching or the left hand on top of the right as we stretch out the left side body. Pressing the hands into the ground, pressing the backs of the feet and the hips. Using your breath to create space. Paying attention to any differences you might feel on this side compared to the other side. And returning your hands back to center. We'll walk ourselves back up into this kneeling position. Remove any props, if you had any, out from under you. And we'll make our way into tabletop position. So wrists and hands under the shoulders, knees under our hips. Feel free to use any props under the knees, like a blanket if you have any sensitivity in the knees. Or feel free to use blocks under the hands if your hands and wrists start to hurt. One way we can also focus on spreading our attention and our energy equally in all of our finger pads. So pressing into all the finger pads and paying special attention to the pointer finger and the thumb. Backs of the feet are on the ground. Take a moment to find that neutral spine, the head reaching long. And inhale, dropping the belly towards the ground, shining the heart forward, looking up towards the front of the room. And then exhale, dropping the chin to the chest, pushing the floor away, breathing out. Inhale for cow pose, dropping the belly, shining that heart forward, broadening through the chest. Exhale, push the floor away. Find a couple more at your own breath and at your own pace, linking the breath with the movement. Inhaling for cow and exhaling for cat. And the next time you make your way into cow pose, we inhale, shine the heart forward. We exhale, we push into cat. And then we keep pushing all the way back so our hips are towards our heels for this kind of different funky styled child's pose. So maybe the toes aren't touching this time. But we bring our head towards the ground And then on our inhale, we're pressing our hands into the mat and we're kind of pulling ourselves forward into this pose as we inhale. Exhale, push the floor away for cat, all the way back down to this funky little child's pose here. Creating a little flow, inhaling all the way up to cow pose. And then exhaling, cat pose, all the way down to child's pose. Excellent. Find a couple more at your own breath. Paying special attention to link the breath and the movement so that it's all one fluid movement. And returning back to tabletop. We'll slowly start to find some organic movement that feels good. So maybe it's rocking from side to side, or making circles in one direction, and making circles in the other direction. Maybe it's just moving the spine, moving the body in infinity shapes, or making circles or figure eights, whatever you want to call them. Just exploring what this feels like. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes. We spent a lot of time on the wrists. We'll give them a little break, maybe giving ourselves a nice little toe stretch. Often when our feet are cramped in shoes, like snow boots, for example, they get cramped up. So this helps to stretch them out. And we can also roll out our wrist a little bit as well. Excellent job, everyone. And we'll make our way back into tabletop position. Untucking the toes, finding that neutral tabletop position. And again, paying special attention of keeping the weight distributed evenly between all the finger pads, the knuckles, and really pressing down through the base of the thumb and the pointer finger. Let's inhale and tuck our toes. And on our exhale, send our hips up and back. Breathing out, downward facing dog. Coming up high on the balls of the toes, we'll slowly start to begin to walk out the heels. So inhaling, lifting one heel up, and exhaling, lowering that heel and lifting up the alternate heel. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. You're also pushing the chest towards the thighs, and the heels are reaching towards the ground, but they never have to touch. Excellent job, everyone. So let's inhale our right leg up to the sky, and exhale, step it in between the hands, lowering that back knee down to the ground, finding alignment with the knee over the ankle, or maybe the ankle is just out a little bit in front, whichever feels better for you. We inhale, we draw the hands up for a low crescent lunge. Feel free to leave the hands on the knee or on the ground if you like, and maybe we start to deepen the stretch just a little bit more in the hip flexor, shining the heart, feeling a nice deep stretch in the left hip. Excellent job, everyone. If you're deep into the stretch, maybe back out just for a little bit. We inhale the hands up to the sky, and we're going to exhale and twist over to our right side. The right back fingers, the right hand, the right fingers are pointing towards the back, and the front fingers are pointing towards the front. Nice and long. Beautiful. Inhale the hands back up to center. Exhale, framing the foot. Great job, everyone. We will now slowly start to use our blocks if we have them. Otherwise, feel free to just stay on the mat. But I like to use the block and make our way into a half split. So coming up on the heel, we're gently pushing the right hip back and the left hip forward. So we're trying to create our hips to be square to the front of the mat. They might not get there, that's perfectly fine. It's just simply even focusing on pulling that right hip back and the left hip forward. You'll notice a difference in the stretch.
Inhale, walk the hands forward again. Exhale, lower and deepen into this low lunge. Excellent job, everyone. We'll move the blocks over to the side if we had them there, and we'll take that right foot over out to the edge of the mat, creating a little bit of space, taking the right hand on the inside of the right leg. And so we're hugging that right leg into the right arm, staying up either on the knee, or feel free to tuck the toe and come up into this lizard pose. Stay here. Feel free to also use your props. Maybe you're on a bolster, or maybe you're using blocks here to help make this posture a little bit more comfortable for you. And you can always ease out, but being mindful again to keep the knee stacked over the ankle, or to basically avoid it from going over the toes anyways. And keep hugging in that right leg into the midline of the body. Excellent job, everyone. All right, we'll remove these props out to the side. Framing the foot, we walk the foot back into the center a little bit more, and we lift up the back knee if it wasn't lifted already, and slowly step back the right foot, and we make our way into downward facing dog. Beautiful job, everyone. Maybe you take a moment to notice how this downward dog feels. Maybe you need to walk it a little bit. Do you notice any difference from one side to the other? Let's go ahead and inhale up to our toes, rolling forward to plank pose, staying lifted in the shoulders. We lower down to the knees and lower our belly, chest, and chin all the way down to the ground. Inhale up for baby cobra, keeping the hands where they are. The shoulders are pulling back towards the chest, or towards the ribs. And then exhale and lower back down. Inhale to tabletop. Exhale to downward facing dog. Beautiful. Let's inhale the left leg up to the sky, and then exhale, step it forward in between the hands, lowering that right knee to the ground. We find that low lunge again. Feel free to stay up here, or maybe you come all the way up and the hands come up overhead, or maybe you walk the foot out a little bit more, so again the knee stays over the ankle, and you sink deeper into this low crescent lunge, feeling a big stretch in the hip flexor right here. Whew. Yep, feel it. Feel free to use your blocks or any props that you might have if it will help you. And stay here and breathe into any tension and see if you can relax and let go. Excellent job, everyone. Inhale the hands up to the sky. Maybe you need to come up for a little bit. And then exhale and twist over to the left side. Excellent. Again, our fingers are reaching out long. Our left shoulder is pushing back. So we're feeling this nice twist in the upper back. Upper mid back anyways. Inhale the hands back up to center. Exhale, frame the foot. Now this time we're going to walk the left foot out over to the left side. The hand comes to the inside of the leg for setting up for lizard pose. The left leg is hugging into the left arm and shoulder. And feel free to use a block or bolsters or pillows wherever you need them. And stay here in this lizard pose, this deep hip opener here. We often hold a lot of stress and tension in our hips. So this can be a difficult pose to be in. Notice what shows up for you. Are there any limiting beliefs that you can't do this, that this is too hard? See if there's truth to it. See if there's something you can let go of. Just here for a couple more breaths. Using our breath to guide us, helping us to stay present and focused. Slowly start to rebend the right knee, move any props out to the side,
And let's make our way into half split on this side. So slowly starting to walk the heel up to the sky, or the toes up to the sky. And again, we're focusing on trying to square our hips towards the front. So pushing that left hip back and that right hip forward. And we're hinging, if we want, at the hips. So no rounding through the back like this, but instead keeping a nice long spine, nice long and tall spine. It does not matter how low you go, you can feel the stretch, I'm sure, or at least I know I can. Nice stretch to the back of the leg. Excellent job, everyone. Let's walk our blocks forward for that low crescent lunge again, just for a moment here, breathing in and breathing out. And moving the blocks over to the side, we frame the foot again and we lower our knee back into our neutral tabletop position. Again, shoulders right over the wrists, hips right over the knees. Inhale, drop the belly down to the ground, shine the heart forward. Exhale, push the floor away, tucking the chin to the chest, cat pose. Inhale, tuck the toes. Exhale, send the hips up high and back. Taking a moment to notice what this downward dog feels like. Does the left side feel the same as the right side? Do you notice any differences from when we began and where we are right now? If not, that's perfectly fine. We still have some more juicy poses to get into. All right, my friends, so we're going to walk our feet a little bit closer. Kind of even the left foot can be towards the middle. And we're going to inhale the right leg up to the sky, bending the knee. We're going to do a couple hip circles. So opening the hip in one direction. And you can always lower down to the knee if that feels better on you. And so we're trying to keep the front body, the front torso, towards the front. And we're just simply rotating the hip in its little socket here. Excellent. So inhale, straighten the leg out, and then exhale, we're going to place the right knee behind the right wrist. The left knee can come to the ground, and this foot on your right side can be tucked in a little bit closer into the groin area rather than closer to the wrist, because we are going to be relaxing and settling into this posture. Feel free to grab any props that you might want. So if you notice yourself falling over to the side or this is really uncomfortable, definitely grab a blanket or a block and place it right under this hip here to help you elevate up. And maybe you even want another pillow or blanket here under the chest to support you as you start to roll down to this sleeping swan pose. And also feel free to have your journal nearby. We'll take a few moments, a few breaths to notice the sensations of this posture before we move into the next journaling prompt. So again, using any props to get yourself comfortable. We will be here for a few breaths, so do whatever you need to do. And maybe you relax all the way down to the ground. Noticing how this posture feels in the body. Fall tends to be a season of transition, right? We're transitioning from the summer months, the warm, active months, to the cooler and colder months. So fall can sometimes be a difficult time. Sometimes it's due to literally the lack of sunlight, the rainier and cloudier days, the weather. It can also be related to maybe even events that come up during this last quarter of the year, whether it's meeting objectives or celebrating certain holidays. Sometimes it can all feel a little stressful or overwhelming. But it's good to remember that This is a normal part of being human, and when you notice these feelings coming up, you can maybe turn to a tool. I personally like to turn to a variety of tools, but yoga is definitely one of my staples to help keep me grounded and stable into what is happening right now, here in this present moment. So reaching for that journal, we can start to grab our book and our pen, maybe grab a drink of water if you have that nearby. And our prompt for this side is there something that you have been resisting with summer being gone? Is there somewhere that you can soften and let go? What is one thing that you've been resisting in your life this year, this season, this moment, even in this practice? However you like to interpret this prompt, I encourage you to free write whatever shows up. There's no wrong answer here, and these answers, again, are only for you. Unless you'd like to share in the description down below, but you don't have to. Just letting me know that you did this practice is enough for me. All right, friends. So again, is there something that you've been resisting? And if so, where can you soften and let go? You can finish up any last final thoughts that you have. And of course, you're always welcome to come back to this later, and we'll actually explore this on our second side as well if you want to continue writing or thinking about that. But for now, put the journal aside. We'll slowly start to move any props out from under us, swing our legs around. I'm just turning to face you guys, but feel free to swing wherever you are. And we'll take our hands behind our hips, palms facing towards the sides, towards the back, whichever is comfortable. And we're slowly just windshield wipering the knees from side to side. Beautiful job, everyone. Whew, my hips definitely feel it. I don't know about you. All right. So now let's make our way down onto our hands and knees again. We'll do one round of cow and cat together, keeping the feet on the ground, the hands planted. Inhale, drawing the heart forward for cow pose. Exhale to cat. And then inhale for neutral. And exhale, bring the big toes together to touch. Send the hips back to child's pose. And take just a moment in this child's pose, reconnecting to the ground, reconnecting to this present moment. Maybe rocking the head side to side, giving your forehead just a little gentle massage. We'll inhale, returning back to tabletop position. Exhale, tucking the toes. Inhale, finding length in the spine. And exhale, sending the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Pressing the hips back and up and pressing the belly and the chest towards the thighs. And the heels are reaching towards the ground, but again, they still never have to touch. The head is relaxed between the ears. The head is relaxed between the shoulders. Anatomy. And inhale, we roll forward to plank, lowering down to our knees, lowering to our belly, keeping the elbows in towards the chest. We inhale, drawing the heart forward for baby cobra or maybe cobra pose by extending the arms out nice and long. And exhale, lowering back down. Inhale to tabletop position. Exhale to downward facing dog. Excellent job, everyone. Inhale the left leg up to the sky. And then we're going to bend the knee and draw some circles in one direction. And then drawing circles in the other direction. Opening up the hip as we prepare for our resting pigeon pose. So inhaling the leg up nice and tall. Exhale, send the knee towards the left wrist and the ankle and the foot towards the thigh or towards the groin area. Again, to help you be a little more relaxed. The back leg is nice and long, so you should be able to bring the toes to the ground and then relax the foot. And use your props, my friends. Send that blanket right under the hips. Just feels so much better already. And we'll take a moment to notice this position, notice how this feels in the body. And we'll slowly walk our way down using any props. Again, feel free to place a blanket on the chest or using blocks. You can put a block underneath the forehead, whatever you need. And take a moment to notice how this resting pigeon feels. Maybe you need to adjust the ankle to be a little bit closer or further away from the body. The hips are neutral towards the front of the mat. Maybe the forehead finds the ground. Taking a moment to soften, to relax. We're here for just another breath before we grab the journal. So slowly lifting up, using props if you need to. You can always place them on there. Your journal on a block if you like. We'll go ahead and grab the pencil or pen. And the journal prompt for this side is either to continue reflecting on if there's something that you've been resisting and where can you soften and let go. You can continue to write about that, or feel free to expand further of what would it feel like, what would the experience be like to let go of this resistance and simply be in the moment. What would it look like? What would it feel like for you to let go and to soften into this resistance? So similar to this resting pigeon pose or swan pose, whatever you want to call it, we are softening and relaxing into this posture. How can we do that off the mat? Or maybe you want to write about what's here happening on the mat. That's perfectly fine as well. Maybe you just write one word of the feelings that might appear by releasing that resistance. And if you're feeling resistance to writing something, this can also be a color, it could be a drawing, it could be lyrics to a song, anything that shows up for you. There's no wrong answer here. Go ahead and begin to finish up the last thought that you are writing. And whenever you're ready, placing that journal over to the side. We'll come back for a final prompt for you to finish up the practice with on your own. But for now, let's slowly start to push ourselves back up into a seated position. Feel free to leave the blanket there if you have it. Take the hands back behind you, and we're just gently rocking our hips side to side, windshield wipering the knees. And then now we are getting to our resting and cool down poses for the class today. So taking a nice tall stance here with the spine up nice and long, the belly towards the knees. We'll hold onto the backs of the legs and slowly start to roll down to our back, making ourselves down there however you like. And we'll extend the legs and the arms out nice and long for a nice full body stretch. Arms overhead. Oh, there's a puppy. Arms overhead, toes pointing. And let's exhale, draw the hands around the legs, maybe to the knees, or around the shins, if that works for you. And gently give yourself a little squeeze. Maybe rock side to side, giving the low back a little massage. Beautiful. So let's go ahead and send the legs up to the sky. It can be a bend in the knees, don't worry. And we'll rotate our ankles in one direction and rotate our ankles in the other direction. And let's cross the right leg over the left and slowly start to bring the knees in towards the chest. Feel free, if this is enough, you can always use a strap around the knees, or maybe you start to hug the knees in closer to the chest. Setting up for shoelace pose. Noticing how this feels in the body, what's happening in the back, what's happening with your breath. All right, we can walk our hands down, or feel free to stay here, but we can also walk our hands down to our toes or to our feet, and we'll slowly start to bring them in closer, giving ourselves a little bit of a squeeze for shoelace pose. And you'll feel a nice stretch in the back of the right leg is where I'm feeling it, but maybe you feel it somewhere else. Remembering to breathe and allowing yourself to be okay with the stretch. Of course, if there's any pain, feel free to back off. But if there's just a slight edge of discomfort, see if you can breathe into that space. See if you can create more space using your breath. Maybe you go back into that ujjayi breathing of restricting to the back of the throat and really focusing on sending the breath there. Beautiful job, everyone. You can release the hands if they were reaching for the feet. Maybe they come to a T or to cactus arms. The feet can find, the left foot can find the ground. And we'll take the right foot, the sole of the foot, onto the ground over to the left side for a supine twist. If this doesn't feel good, feel free to unravel or do some other variation of a supine twist. You can also use blocks or blankets under the knee here. If you feel your shoulders lifting on your right side, feel free to also put a blanket under the right shoulder as well. Maybe the gaze also goes over the right shoulder too, to give this neck a little stretch in the back as well. Beautiful. Let's inhale our knees back up to the sky. Slowly begin to unwind, planting the soles of the feet on the ground. We'll windshield wiper the knees from side to side as we prepare to do the other side. Inhaling the legs up to the sky, we'll cross the left leg over the right now and slowly start to bring them in towards the chest again. You can use a strap or you can just simply reach for the knee, whichever feels more accessible for you. Setting up for shoelace. sending the breath to any areas we are experiencing tightness in. Now we can slowly walk our hands down to our ankles or to our feet or to our big toes and slowly start to bring them in closer to our chest, feeling a nice little stretch in the back of our left leg now. Noticing how this feels, nice little shoelace pose. Again, using the breath to create space, to release any tension or stress, to release any tension that might be in the body. You can use your breath to help yourself relax a little bit more. Excellent job, everyone. You can bring the hands out over to the sides to a T or cactus the arms, depending on your space. And we'll bring the right foot of the left foot towards the ground for a nice little supine twist over to the right. And the gaze can either be staying up towards the ceiling or maybe go over to the left side. Breathing into the twist, breathing into the back of the body. Unwinding the head, returning the soles of the feet to the ground. We'll take a windshield wiper of the knees from side to side. Extend the legs out nice and long for a nice full body stretch. And feel free to move into your final resting posture for the end of class today. Maybe you're in corpse pose like this with the palms facing up. The feet and ankles are splayed out to the sides. Or maybe you take your soles of the feet on the ground, the knees are collapsed inwards. Or one other final option for you today, especially if you're on your feet a lot, is legs up the wall. I love this posture. So the way we do it is you hug your little hips up to the wall, lean back, and you kind of shimmy your legs up the wall like this. And feel free to add a blanket across the belly or even up to the feet if you can reach it. You know, whatever feels good for you. I know those colors don't go very well, but it's cool. This is still a really nice posture to get into. The hands can be out to a T. The shoulders are flat against the ground. This is a great way to just simply change the flow of the circulation a little bit more, because now our feet are higher than our heart, and we are often not in this position, or at least I often don't find myself in this. So making your way into whatever position feels right for you to finish up your practice today. And I really encourage you to stay in this Shavasana, and I will call you out when it's time. If you notice your mind beginning to wander to things you need to get done or stuff that's happened in the past already, that's okay. It's what the mind does. Simply acknowledge it, let it go, and focus again on the breath. Focus again on being here, present in this moment. So maybe you're focusing on the sensations of breathing or how the ground feels against the body. Relaxing the head, relaxing the forehead, the space between the eyebrows, the eyes and eyeballs, the cheeks, the jaw, the tongue, the lips. Maybe they're slightly parted. Relaxing the throat, the shoulders down to the ground. The back of the body is heavy on the mat, feeling supported. You can start to deepen the breath, increasing the length of the inhale and the exhale. Inviting in a little bit of movement to the fingers and the toes. And wherever you are in your Shavasana pose, slowly and gently make your way into fetal position. So we're walking our feet down the wall, if your legs at the wall, or if you're in corpse pose, maybe you're just gently rolling over to the side, keeping the eyes closed, the head cradled in between the arms. And taking a moment to find one thing that you are grateful for in this moment. It doesn't have to be large, it doesn't have to be anything, just simply note it, let it be there. Allow this feeling of gratitude to expand from the heart all the way into the rest of the body. And when you're ready, slowly start to push yourself up into a seated position. Again, keeping the gaze soft down towards the ground. We'll make our way into a comfortable seated position, allowing the spine to be nice and long. We'll inhale the hands up to the sky. Exhale, hands down to heart center. Taking a moment to acknowledge all the hard work that we put in today to help us bring balance to this fall season and help us reconnect to the ground and to the support that we have already around us. You can bow the chin to the chest, thanking yourself for taking this time to practice, thanking your body for being able to do the things that it did today, thanking yourself for the time that you took, saying just thank you, thank you, thank you. We bow our heads together. We say thank you or namaste. Thank you again so much for practicing with me. You can blink the eyes open if they were closed, welcoming yourself back into this space. Again, thank you so much for practicing with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this fall-inspired yoga and journaling class. The last and final prompt that I have for you to reflect on as you continue about your day, or maybe you spend a couple more moments on your mat if the time permits. What are some other ways that you can bring balance to the mind and body this season? And if you're looking for some ideas, you might want to check out my latest blog post or join my bi-weekly newsletter for some inspiration. Otherwise, feel free to explore this on your own, whatever that might look like. Thank you so much, and be well, friends. Bye.